Apache woman fled after her father sold her. A cowboy gave her a place to hide. Wild West story. The sun was setting over the vast empty plains of New Arizona, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples. The wind carried the dry scent of desert sage, and the distant mesas cast long dark shadows across the sand. Jace Halloran sat on the porch of his small ranch, a rough wooden structure with metal panels salvaged from old mining equipment. His eyes scanned the horizon, half watching the distant mountains and half lost in memories he tried hard to forget. Ever since the frontier had changed, since hover wagons replaced horse-drawn carriages and energy fences kept the towns isolated, life had been quieter in some ways, but far more dangerous in others. Rogue gangs, cyber slavers, and rogue drones roamed the plains, hunting anyone unlucky enough to be caught alone. Jace had survived for years by keeping his head low, trusting no one and knowing when to draw his rifle. A sudden flicker of movement caught his eye. Something or someone darted between the rocks a mile away. He squinted, resting his hand on the energy rifle strapped across his shoulder. The figure was human, small, and moving fast, but something about the way she ran, hesitant, stumbling, made him lower the barrel just slightly. Not one of the gangs, he muttered to himself. Too fast. Too scared. The figure slowed as she approached a shallow ravine. She was young, barely in her 20s, with long dark hair tied in a loose braid. Her clothes were torn and dusty, and she limped slightly as she moved. Jace's instincts screamed at him to stay hidden, to watch and wait, but something in her eyes, even from that distance, held a quiet desperation that made his hand relax. Then the sound came, the low hum of hovering engines. Drones. Jace's heart thumped. He had seen these machines before. Sleek, metallic, and deadly, used by slavers to track down travelers and villagers alike. A few clicks of a button could activate their scanners, and anyone caught would disappear, never to be seen again. The young woman froze, glancing back toward the horizon. She looked terrified. She stumbled, caught her balance, and tried to hide behind a small rock outcropping. Jace could see the faint blue glow of the drone's scanning lights sweeping across the desert floor. One wrong move, and they would find her. Without thinking, Jace ran down the small hill to intercept the patrol. He had no plan, only instinct. He knew he could take down a drone if he timed it right, but there was always a risk. He crouched behind a rock, pulled out a small EMP grenade, and waited. Suddenly the woman turned her head, catching sight of him. Her eyes widened in panic. She raised her hands and shouted, "Don't fire!" Jace froze. The voice was clear, human, pleading. "I'm not here to hurt you," he called back, keeping his hands partially raised. "Stay down, keep low, and don't move too fast." Her shoulders slumped slightly, relief flooding her expression. She crawled toward him carefully, keeping low behind rocks. Up close, Jace could see the cuts on her arms and the exhaustion in her eyes. She was bleeding slightly from what looked like claw marks on her legs. "What happened to you?" Jace asked quietly, glancing around for signs of the drones. They caught me," she said, her voice trembling. "The slavers, they want me. I don't know why. I don't know what they want me to do. I had to run." Jace's mind raced. Slavers were dangerous, often working with rogue tech and drones to capture people for forced labor or worse. He had heard stories of entire villages disappearing overnight. Helping her was dangerous, maybe even suicidal, but he couldn't leave her out there. He couldn't. "Come with me," he said, extending his hand. I'll get you out of the open." She hesitated for a moment, glancing back toward the horizon where the hum of the drones grew louder. Then, with no other choice, she took his hand. Her grip was firm but trembling. Jace led her down a narrow canyon path that twisted behind cliffs, the rocks giving them some cover. The drones swept past overhead, their scanners blinking, but for now, they didn't see them. Once they were hidden in the shade of a small cave, the woman collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. Jace knelt beside her, taking a moment to study her. She was young, but there was something in her eyes, determination, even in fear. "My name is Naya," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm Apache. They came for me because I know something about my people, about our technology. I don't know why they care so much, but I had to run. I had to get away." Jace nodded slowly. He had heard whispers of Apache tribes who had preserved old tech, but he had never believed it until now. Naya's people were known for their ingenuity, blending old traditions with advanced tech to survive in the harsh frontier. If slavers were after that knowledge, it could be dangerous for the whole region. "You're safe for now," he said. "But we need to move. They'll keep looking, and they have more than just drones. We have to get somewhere they won't find you." Naya looked at him, hope mixed with fear in her eyes. "Somewhere safe?" Jace nodded. "I know a place. Old mining tunnels not far from here. They're abandoned, but I've rigged them with sensors and traps. They'll think twice before coming in." As they moved carefully through the desert, Naya stumbled several times. Jace caught her arm, steadying her, and she allowed herself a small, grateful smile. "Thank you," she whispered. They reached the mouth of the mining tunnel just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the desert in deep shadows. Jace led her inside, activating a small holographic map that lit the tunnel walls. The air inside was cool and dry, a welcome relief from the scorching desert. "Sit here," he said, pointing to a flat rock. "Rest for a moment, I'll check the perimeter." Naya sank down, rubbing her arms. Her eyes were wide, scanning the walls of the tunnel as if expecting slavers to appear at any moment. Jace stepped out, moving quietly along the entrance, checking the sensors he had installed months ago. The desert was quiet again, except for the distant hum of the drones, now moving away. When he returned, he found Naya looking at a small set of carvings etched into the rock, symbols of her tribe. These are mine," she said softly, tracing a finger over them. "They remind me of home." Jace nodded, understanding more than he said. "Home is worth fighting for," he replied. "And right now your fight is just beginning." They settled into the tunnel as night fell. Outside, the desert was alive with distant sounds of nocturnal creatures, the wind rustling through the rocks. Jace kept watch while Naya closed her eyes, trying to rest despite the fear gnawing at her. "I don't know what's going to happen," she said quietly. "But thank you, Cowboy. I don't even know your name." "Jace," he said, keeping his tone calm. "Jace Halloran. And for what it's worth, Naya, you're not alone anymore." The stars began to emerge over the desert sky, bright and cold. Somewhere out there, the slavers were still hunting. But for tonight, in this hidden canyon, two strangers, one a cowboy, one a fleeing warrior, shared a fragile moment of safety. They didn't speak again for a long time, each lost in thoughts of the past and the dangers ahead. Outside, the desert wind howled through the canyon, carrying whispers of what was to come. Jace knew one thing for certain: helping Naya would be dangerous, maybe even deadly. But he also knew he couldn't turn away, and as the night deepened, with shadows stretching across the walls of the tunnel, the cowboy and the Apache woman prepared for the trials ahead. The frontier was harsh, the future uncertain, and the slavers would not rest. But together, they had a chance, a slim, fragile chance, to survive. Somewhere deep in the desert, hidden from drones and slavers alike, a story of trust, courage, and survival had begun. The first night in the canyon passed slowly. The silence was heavy, broken only by the distant cries of nocturnal creatures and the occasional whisper of the desert wind through the rocky cliffs. Jace sat near the entrance of the tunnel, his rifle resting across his lap, scanning the darkness outside. Every shadow, every flicker of light made him tense. He had faced slavers before, but never one who had risked chasing a single Apache woman so relentlessly. Inside, Naya tried to rest. Her body ached, her cuts stung, and her mind raced with worry. She kept thinking about the slavers' demands and the knowledge they sought from her tribe. Her people had survived for centuries by blending tradition with advanced technology, hiding secrets that could change the balance of power in the region. She had always known these secrets were dangerous, but never had she imagined someone would risk everything to steal them. By morning, the canyon was bathed in pale golden light. Jace motioned for Naya to stand. "We need to move," he said softly. "They'll be searching the desert for any sign of you." Naya nodded, wincing as she shifted her weight. "Where are we going?" she asked. "There's a place not far from here," Jace explained. "Old mining tunnels. They're abandoned, but I've rigged them with sensors and traps. It's the only place I trust you'll be safe for a while." The journey was slow. Naya leaned on Jace's shoulder when her leg hurt, and he helped her over rocks and small cliffs. As they traveled, Jace asked cautiously, "How did they find you?" Naya's eyes darkened. I was captured in a small village. They threatened the elders, forced me to give them access to the tribe's records. I refused. I couldn't betray my people, so I ran." Jace nodded silently. He understood defiance in the face of danger. It was a lesson he had learned long ago. "You're brave," he said. "Not many would have made it this far." Her eyes met his. a flicker of gratitude mixed with the pain of exhaustion. I don't know if brave is the word, I just want to live. By midday, they reached the old mining tunnels. The entrance was hidden behind a rock fall, almost invisible from a distance. Jace carefully moved boulders aside, revealing a narrow opening. Inside, the air was cool, and the walls were lined with old tracks from carts long abandoned. Jace activated a small holographic map projected from his wrist device. "We'll be safe here," he said. "The slavers' drones won't penetrate this far, and I've set up traps at the entrance to alert us if anyone comes close." Naya sank to the ground, rubbing her arms. This feels like a real place to hide," she whispered. "Thank you." Jace gave her a faint smile. "You need to rest. And eat. You're injured, and you'll need strength for what's coming." He handed her a small ration pack of dried meat, water, and nutrient bars. She took it with trembling hands, grateful for his care. As she ate, Naya began to open up about her people. "We've always lived in the desert, hidden from outsiders," she explained. "We have knowledge of energy shields, of ways to move without being seen. The slavers, they want it all. But it's not just for power. It's for survival. If they take it, my people will be lost." Jace listened fascinated. He had heard rumors of tribes blending old traditions with new technology, but hearing it from someone who had lived it made it real. "I don't know much about energy shields," he admitted, "but I know a thing or two about survival. Maybe together we can stay one step ahead of them." Naya looked at him, a mixture of hope and disbelief in her eyes. You would help me, a stranger?" Jace shrugged. "I've helped strangers before. Doesn't matter who they are. Right now, it's about keeping you alive." "That's enough." Over the next few days, they set up the tunnels as a temporary base. Jace had scavenged old tech from abandoned settlements, small sensors, alarm systems, and even a few solar chargers. He taught Naya how to use them to monitor the desert outside. In return, Naya showed him how to move silently, how to hide from scanning drones, and even how to read signs in the desert that he had never noticed before. Despite their differences, a bond began to form. They shared stories around a small fire in the tunnels, laughter and quiet moments mixing with their fear. Jace learned that Naya was clever and resourceful, able to adapt quickly to new situations. Naya saw in Jace someone who was skilled, reliable, and willing to risk everything for her safety. One evening as the sun dipped behind the mesas, Naya paused near the tunnel entrance. "Jace, they won't give up," she said. "I know it. They have too much at stake. They'll come with more drones, more weapons, more people." Jace nodded, scanning the horizon. "Then we prepare. We learn their patterns, set traps, and stay ahead. They won't catch you if we're smart." They worked together, using a mix of old and new technology. Jace rigged motion sensors that could trigger noise and light diversions, confusing any approaching drones. Naya modified small devices she had hidden in her pack to interfere with energy signals, creating blind spots for a few precious minutes. Together, they formed a system, Cowboy ingenuity and Apache knowledge blending into a careful plan of defense. One night, as they sat near the fire, Naya looked at the stars. "Back home, the sky looked the same," she said softly. "No matter how far we go, it's always there. Reminds me that life goes on even when danger is near." Jace glanced at her, quietly moved. "You've got a good head on your shoulders," he said, "and a strong heart. You'll survive this. I'll make sure of it." Suddenly, a faint hum reached their ears, the sound of a distant drone. Both froze. Jace stood, moving silently to the entrance, peering into the darkness. The desert beyond was empty, but the hum grew louder. Naya followed him, her hand resting on a small device she had rigged earlier. "They're close," she whispered. "I can feel it." Jace nodded, activating a holographic map that displayed the sensor's feedback. A small blip appeared, moving closer from the north. A drone patrol scanning the desert floor. It hadn't detected them yet, but it would if they weren't careful. "Stay calm," Jace said. "We have a plan. We'll let it pass, and then we move quietly to the next tunnel deeper in the canyon. It's a longer path, but it's safer." Naya nodded, gripping the small device tightly. Together they waited, watching the blip move along its path. When it finally drifted past without incident, they moved quickly but quietly, deeper into the tunnels, avoiding any chance of being seen. As they reached a wider cavern, Naya paused. "Jace, thank you," she said, "for everything. I don't know if I could have made it without you." Jace shook his head. "We're in this together. You teach me things, I protect you. That's how it works. No thanks needed. For a brief moment they allowed themselves a sense of relief, but both knew the danger wasn't gone. The slavers were still out there, hunting, relentless and cruel. And somewhere, not far from the canyon, more drones and patrols were preparing to sweep the area again. As the night deepened, Naya settled into a corner of the cavern, using a rolled-up blanket for support. Jace kept watch at the entrance, scanning the desert and listening to the wind. They didn't speak much, each lost in thoughts of the coming days, the dangers ahead, and the fragile trust they had begun to build. Finally, as the stars glimmered over the desert sky, Jace allowed himself to relax slightly. He knew they had survived the first encounter and that trust had begun to form between them. But tomorrow, the real test would come, because the slavers would not give up, and the Apache woman's fight for freedom was only just beginning. In the quiet of the canyon, two strangers, one cowboy, one warrior, prepared to face the challenges of a wild, dangerous, futuristic frontier. Together, they were stronger. Together, they had a chance. And together, they would fight to survive. The desert sun rose slowly, burning the night's chill away, and the canyon began to glow in shades of gold and amber. Jace and Naya had spent the night deep within the tunnels, far from the prying eyes of drones, but the first light reminded them that danger never slept. Jace checked the sensors he had set up at the tunnel's entrance. A faint blip appeared, moving fast, scanning the canyon. "They're coming," he said, his voice low but steady. Naya's eyes widened. "Already?" "They never rest," Jace replied. "We have to move. The tunnels are good for hiding, but not for long. We need to put distance between us and them." They climbed out of the narrow canyon entrance, careful to stay in the shadows of the rocks. Naya kept close to Jace, leaning on him when her leg ached. The desert stretched endlessly before them, hills, mesas, and jagged rocks, with no roads but traces of old hover train rails cutting across the sand. Jace's eyes scanned the horizon. "There," he said, pointing to the distant tracks. "An old hover train line? It's abandoned, but I've been on it before. If we can get to it, we can use one of the old carts or modify it to outrun any patrol." Naya nodded. She trusted him completely now, their bond strengthened by the danger and shared experience. Together, they moved quickly, using the cover of rock formations and dips in the desert to stay hidden. By midday, they reached the hover train tracks. The tracks shimmered faintly under the sun, magnetic rails glinting with traces of old energy. Jace led Naya to a small cart, half buried in sand and dust. It was old, rusted, but with some repairs it could move. "Help me with this," Jace said. "We can rig it with a small energy booster. It won't go fast for long, but it will give us a head start." Naya bent down beside him, her hands moving quickly. She was clever and resourceful, even under pressure. Using a combination of salvaged tools from her pack and some of Jace's tech, they managed to get the cart running. The small engine hummed, sputtered, and then roared to life. "Good enough," Jace said, stepping back and testing the brakes. "We'll ride as far as we can, then switch to the next line. They won't expect us to use the old tracks." Naya climbed in, gripping the sides. "Jace, thank you. I never thought I'd be riding one of these again. My people used old carts like this in secret." Jace gave her a faint smile. "Well, now we're using them for survival. Hang on." The cart moved slowly at first, then faster as they pushed it along the rails. Jace kept scanning the desert, and Naya used a small device she had rigged to interfere with energy signals, creating a short blind spot that would hide them from drones for a few precious minutes. But the hum of drone engines grew louder. A patrol was closing in, and they had more than just machines. They had automated ground units, small wheeled robots that could track energy signatures across the sand. Jace swore under his breath. "They're fast," he said. "We have to keep ahead, or they'll catch up." The chase began. The cart rattled along the rails, throwing up dust and small rocks. Jace held on tightly, steering through curves and dips, while Naya crouched, monitoring the signal from the approaching drones. Each second felt like an hour. A drone swooped overhead, scanning the desert with a faint blue light. Jace slowed briefly, ducking behind a rock formation, and Naya activated her device. The light flickered and distorted, confusing the drone's sensors just long enough for them to move past safely. "They're persistent," Naya said, her voice tense but determined. "They won't give up until they find me." "I know," Jace replied. "But persistence doesn't mean success. We're smarter than they expect." The desert stretched endlessly, with jagged rocks and mesas forming obstacles in their path. Jace guided the cart with precision, using the terrain to slow the drones whenever possible. Naya scanned the horizon, calculating the next move, and together they formed a rhythm, cowboy and warrior moving in sync. Hours passed. The sun climbed high, scorching the sand. Naya's leg throbbed, but she didn't complain. Her focus was on survival, on staying ahead of the slavers. Jace noticed her determination, and it strengthened his own resolve. This wasn't just about protecting her anymore. He was invested in her mission, in her freedom. Suddenly, one of the drones detected a signal spike. Its engines whined as it changed direction, heading straight for them. Jace swore, pushing the cart faster, the rails vibrating beneath them. Naya activated a small flare from her pack, a bright pulse of light that drew the drone sensors away for a split second. They used the moment to dart behind a low cliff. That was close, Jace said, breathing hard. Too close. Naya nodded. We have to keep moving. They'll adapt. As they rode deeper into the desert, they came across an old canyon valley, narrow and twisting. It was perfect for hiding and setting traps. Jace slowed the cart, scanning the path ahead. We'll use the canyon, he said. Drones can't maneuver well here, and I've set up a few tricks. They entered the canyon. The walls rose high on either side, shadows stretching across the floor. Jace triggered a small set of spikes along the rails, relics from old mining equipment. A drone swooped in, its wheels screeching as it collided with the spikes. Sparks flew, and it skidded off the path, giving them a few moments' advantage. Naya's eyes shone with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. It worked, she whispered. Jace nodded. Keep alert. One mistake and it's over. The canyon narrowed further. Jace guided the cart carefully, ducking under low rocks, avoiding debris and maintaining speed. Naya monitored the rear using a small mirror device to see if any drones were following. Then came the unexpected. A larger vehicle emerged from a side canyon. A hover assault cart, sleek and black, armed with scanning lasers. Jace cursed. They brought reinforcements, he said. Hold on tight. The chase turned into a full-speed race. Jace steered the cart sharply, weaving between rocks. Naya activated another device, sending a pulse that temporarily blinded the hovercart's sensors. Sparks flew as the vehicle skidded, giving them just enough space to escape into a narrow side passage. Breathing hard, they slowed the cart as they reached a hidden plateau overlooking the desert. Below, the patrol searched blindly, unable to track them through the twisting canyon. Naya collapsed to the ground, exhaustion taking over. I didn't think I'd make it, she said, trembling. Jace knelt beside her. You did. We both did. But we're not safe yet. They'll keep coming, and we have to be ready. Naya looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. Jace, I don't know how to thank you. Don't worry about it, he said. We survive. That's enough. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, they rested briefly, planning their next move. Naya shared more about her tribe, the secret technology, and the importance of keeping it out of the slavers' hands. Jace listened, realizing that this wasn't just a fight for her life. It was a fight for her people, for knowledge that could change the future of the frontier. That night, as stars appeared over the desert, Jace and Naya set up a temporary camp on the plateau. The wind was cooler, the sounds of the desert quieter than in the canyon below. They shared a small meal, conserving energy and supplies for the next leg of the journey. Tomorrow, Jace said, looking at the horizon, we find a better place, somewhere they won't reach us. And we start planning, not just to run, but to fight back. Naya nodded. I'll help. I know the desert better than anyone. We can stay ahead if we use it right. Together, they watched the stars. The desert was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. But for the first time since she had run from the slavers, Naya felt a flicker of hope. And Jace, who had spent years avoiding attachment, felt the same. This fight wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about trust, courage, and the chance to change the future. Somewhere deep in the desert, hidden from drones and patrols, the cowboy and the Apache woman prepared for the battles ahead. The frontier was harsh, the future uncertain, and the slavers relentless. But together, they had learned something important. They were stronger as a team, smarter as allies, and braver as partners in the chase for freedom. The desert wind swept across the plateau, carrying whispers of what was to come. And in that quiet moment, both Jace and Naya knew this was only the beginning. The chase would continue, and the fight for freedom was far from over. The first light of dawn spilled over the desert horizon, painting the mesas in gold and pink. Jace and Naya had traveled through narrow canyons and across dusty plains, finally reaching the outskirts of what Naya called the Apache stronghold, a hidden valley deep within the mountains. The valley was unlike anything Jace had seen. High rock walls formed a natural barrier, and inside structures blended old stonework with hidden futuristic tech. Small energy shields shimmered faintly over buildings, nearly invisible to the naked eye. "This is it," Naya whispered, awe in her voice. "My people, they've been waiting for me, and for anyone who comes after me, this place is impossible to find." Jace studied the valley carefully. "Looks like a fortress, but we can't just walk in. Slavers could be anywhere near the perimeter. We need a plan." Naya nodded, crouching low beside him. "I know the secret paths," she said. "I can get us inside without being seen, but once we're in, we have to act fast. They'll try to stop us if they sense my presence." The duo moved carefully along a narrow ridge, hidden by shadows. Jace noticed the subtle energy markers that Naya pointed out, small holographic signs, invisible to the slavers' sensors, guiding them to a concealed entrance. He followed silently, marveling at how the young woman's knowledge of both desert and tech had prepared her for moments like this. Inside the stronghold, the Apache people moved quickly and efficiently. They were alert but calm, blending tradition with technology. Some wore traditional clothing, while others operated small control panels and energy monitors. Naya led Jace through the winding paths until they reached a central chamber where her elders waited. "Naya!" an older woman exclaimed, stepping forward. Her eyes, sharp and wise, scanned Jace with curiosity and caution. "You made it. And you brought a stranger?" "This is Jace Halloran," Naya said. "He saved me from the slavers. He helped me survive." The elders studied him, then nodded slowly. "If he helped you, then he is our ally," one said. "But the danger is not over. The slavers are relentless." "They will come, and they will bring machines." Jace nodded. "I know, and we'll be ready." Over the next few hours, the stronghold prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Naya shared what she knew of the slavers' plans, their drones, their vehicles, and the energy disruptors they carried. The elders used their own technology to reinforce the defenses, shielded barriers, automated traps, and diversion systems. Jace assisted with the setup, using his experience from the chase to anticipate the slavers' moves. As night fell, the desert beyond the walls glowed with the faint hum of engines. Distant lights indicated that the slavers were approaching, their vehicles sleek and black, armed with scanning lasers. The Apache defenders moved silently, ready to protect their home and their people. Jace and Naya took positions near the entrance, where they could monitor the approaching forces. Naya's hands hovered over a control panel, sending false signals to the drones and creating blind spots that would hide them for crucial moments. Jace checked his rifle and weapons, the familiar weight giving him confidence. The first wave of drones appeared, scanning the desert floor. Naya activated a series of pulses, scrambling their sensors. The drones flinched, veering off course, giving the defenders time to set up further traps. Jace moved silently, guiding a few automated turrets into strategic positions, ensuring maximum coverage. The slavers' vehicles appeared next, sleek hover carts speeding across the desert toward the stronghold. The energy shields over the Apache structure shimmered, absorbing some of the initial energy pulses the slavers fired. But Jace knew this was only temporary. They needed to act decisively now, he whispered to Naya. Using a combination of ancient knowledge and modern tech, Naya triggered a series of diversions. False energy signatures appeared along the desert floor, leading the slavers' vehicles away from the real entrances. Small traps activated, flipping vehicles and disabling drones. Sparks and smoke rose into the night sky, painting a scene of chaos and confusion for the attackers. The slavers were relentless, but the defenders' strategy was precise. Jace moved through the battle with calm efficiency, guiding Apache fighters, disabling drones, and ensuring Naya stayed protected. She, in turn, worked her devices, shutting down scanners and creating pathways that allowed the defenders to strike strategically. Finally, the slaver leader appeared, a tall figure in a black armored hover suit, commanding the remaining forces. He raised an energy weapon, scanning the valley. "Find her!" his voice boomed. "The girl cannot escape." Naya stepped forward from her hiding place, her voice steady. "I am here. Your hunt ends tonight." The slaver leader activated a defensive shield, preparing for confrontation. Jace moved beside Naya, ready to act if needed. Using her knowledge of the stronghold's layout, Naya manipulated the energy systems, creating a temporary overload that caused the leader's shield to flicker. Seizing the moment, Jace disabled one of the hover vehicles approaching the leader, causing it to crash and spark violently. The distraction gave Naya a clear path. She confronted the slaver leader, using a combination of agility, cleverness, and tech interference to outmaneuver him. Sparks flew as systems overloaded, the leader's drones crashing around him. Realizing his control was failing, the slaver leader attempted to flee, but the Apache defenders, guided by Naya and Jace, had anticipated this. Automated barriers closed in, trapping the slaver and his remaining forces in a containment field. His hover suit fizzled and sparked, rendering him powerless. The battle was over. Silence returned to the desert, broken only by the distant hum of recovering drones and the cheers of the defenders. Naya's tribe emerged, faces full of relief and pride. Jace lowered his rifle, exhausted but satisfied. "You did it," Naya said softly, turning to him. "We did it. Together," Jace nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "You fought well. You trusted me, and we made it through." The elders approached, placing a hand on Naya's shoulder. "You have returned, and our people are safe," one said. "And your friend, he is welcome here as an ally." "Jace, he saved my life. Not just today, but when I had lost hope." The night deepened and the valley settled into quiet. Fires burned, signaling victory and survival. The Apache people celebrated their freedom, reclaiming what the slavers had tried to take. Jace watched, humbled, realizing that the desert, though harsh, had also given him something he had long forgotten: purpose, trust, and connection. In the weeks that followed, the stronghold was repaired and reinforced. Jace and Naya trained together, sharing skills and knowledge. Naya's people taught Jace more about their hidden tech and strategies, while he shared lessons from his frontier survival. The bond between the two grew stronger, built on trust, courage, and shared trials. Eventually, the desert returned to its calm, quiet state. The threat of the slavers diminished. Naya's tribe could continue their work in secrecy, preserving knowledge and protecting their people. And Jace, once a lone cowboy wandering the frontier, found a place among them, a protector and friend. One evening, as the sun set over the mesas, Naya and Jace stood on a high cliff overlooking the desert. The wind carried the scent of sage and warm earth. "We made it," Naya said, a smile on her face. Jace nodded. "We did, and we'll keep surviving together." The stars emerged over the desert, bright and clear. Somewhere out there, the frontier stretched endlessly, full of danger and adventure. But for now, in this hidden valley, freedom had been reclaimed. Trust had been earned. And a cowboy and an Apache woman had proven that courage, ingenuity, and unity could overcome even the greatest threats. As night settled, the duo looked to the horizon, knowing the desert would always hold challenges. But for the first time in years, they felt ready for whatever came next. Because they had each other, and together they were unstoppable. The Apache stronghold thrummed with quiet energy, the people safe, the slavers defeated, and the frontier once again a place of hope. And in that moment, the story of trust, survival, and courage came to a triumphant close.